Welcome to Flow360 training webinars. In this session we will be covering working with service providers and contractors. We will look at adding contractors as contacts in Flow360 and setting up the remits that describe their working relationships with clients. We'll also look at sending help desk issues and planned tasks to service providers, and we will look at the options for updating works in progress, communications and dialogues. So, what do we mean in Flow360 by service provider? The term service provider covers both internal personnel and external contractors. Anyone who provides services is, by definition, a service provider, so the internal premises, catering, grounds maintenance and ICT support teams, for example, are all service providers, as are all external contractors. So let's now look at adding a new service provider or contractor to Flow360. I'm logged in as a manager and I want to add a new contractor. I go to the contacts list first of all. And at the top of the contacts list there's a new button, and I'm going to click that button and put in the name of the new company and the main contact at that company. I can then put in the company address and finally click the confirm button. And that will take me to the new contact record card for Plumbing Services Inc. and John Masters. Now, before we can proceed any further with setting up remits, we need to get John Masters and Plumbing Services set up with a user account in Flow360. And in order to do that, I need to click on the user tick box and request an instant user account. And this will be a provider's account. These are accounts typically for external main contractors and providers. So I'm going to say providers instant and click the yes button to confirm, and I'll get a confirmation that the new user account details have now been sent to me by email. When I next return to the record for John Masters and Plumbing Services, I'll note a couple of changes. First of all, that the service provider and the user tick boxes are now both ticked, and I also now have a tab for remits so that we can begin to set up the relationship between plumbing services and their clients. Remits are added on the Remits tab. Now, before we actually set up any remits for plumbing services, let me just give you a bit of background on remits in general. Remits do a number of things. They determine whether the provider is available to send help desk issues to, or to send works instructions to, or both, and can also restrict the type of works sent to them depending on the work type of the tasks matched to the work type remits for the service provider. In addition, the geo or regional remits and the cost remits will allow assignment of works to providers based on the geographical area of the site for the works matching their geographical remits, and the total cost valuation of the works falling within their cost remits. Remember, these remits describe the relationships between a single client and a single service provider or contractor. Any provider can have different remits for each client they work with in Flow360, and each client can have different remits for each service provider they work with. So let's now add in some remits for plumbing services. The Remits tab is already clicked, and the Geo Remits is the first of the Remits sub-tabs that is visible. On the right hand side, as with most tab lists, if I want to add a new remit, I can simply click on the Add Remit button. Now, if the current user manages multiple sites, then you have the opportunity at this point to specify whether the remit you're about to add applies to a single site only or applies to all sites that you have responsibility for. If you simply leave this empty and click OK, you're saying you're setting up a remit for all sites. By default, when you add a new geo remit, there's a tick in the column with the plus above it. And that essentially means that this service provider, in this case plumbing services, in their relationship with King's College, can cover all geographical regions. If, rather than saying all regions apply, you want to specify that a particular service provider only provides cover within a particular geographical region, then you can uncheck the plus, confirm that that's what you want to do, and select a specific region, in this case counties, from the drop down. So if we want to specify that this provider will only cover within the boundaries of Somerset, then we'll select Somerset as the region. So you always have the choice of simply adding a global geographical remit or being more specific. Now let's move on and set up some work remits. So on the Work Remits tab, currently empty, again I'll click the plus button, and again we're going to say this is not site specific. And now we have some choices. If we simply want to make plumbing services available for all types of work, then we can tick the box that simply says all. And if we want them to be available to send any type of help desk issue to, then we can tick the box that says all help desk as well. So the all help desk applies particularly and specifically to help desk issues, whereas the all also applies to works orders, instructions, inquiries. If, however, we want to be more specific about the types of work that plumbing services will undertake, then we won't select these, but we will use the drop down under work type and select the specific work type that applies, in this case plumbing. So that has set up a work type remit or a work remit for plumbing services in relation to their working relationship with King's College. Finally, let's set up the relevant cost remits for plumbing services. So again, on the Cost Remits tab, we're going to click the plus button to add a new remit, non-site specific, and by default it's put in a cost remit with a minimum cost value of 0 and a maximum of 5,000. If we want to edit those, of course, we can simply do that. So if we say actually 50,000 is a more realistic value for the total order of works that might be sent to plumbing services. The last three options here, cost plus, if we set that to yes, that enables plumbing services to act on a cost plus basis in their working relationship with King's College. And that means that when they receive an inquiry, for instance, and they're returning rates or tendering rates, they can add prelims, overhead and profit elements to those rates to be more specific about their cost estimates. The flexi contract option would allow them, when they've received a works order, for example, to make on-the-fly changes, add in new items, make substitutions, or adjust the contents of works as works progresses. If that's set to no, then they don't have that capability and any changes have to be referred back to the issuing manager. The self-sign-off option, finally, if that is set to yes, it means that when plumbing services get to the end of the works on a particular set of instructions and they indicate that works are completed, self-sign-off means that it is automatically fully signed off at the same time. So it's effectively a two-stage sign-off, but all rolled into one and triggered by the contractor or service provider indicating that works are complete. If self-sign-off is left at no, then when the works are completed and indicated as completed by the service provider, then a message is triggered that goes back to the issuing manager or relevant surveyor to indicate that works have been said to be completed by the contractor, but the second stage sign-off inspection needs to be undertaken before they are fully signed off. So that's shown you how to individually add a new geographical or regional remit, a work remit, and a cost remit. Let's just go back to the work remits for a minute, because I want to show you that, of course, you can have more than one. So in this case, for plumbing services, we might also say they will undertake mechanical works as well, in addition to the plumbing work type that's already been set up. So you can put in as many different work type remits as you need in order to cover the range of activities that a particular service provider or contractor will undertake in their dealings with you as the client. You'll be pleased to hear there is also a way of simply adding a global set of remits for a new contractor very quickly. And I'm going to draw your attention now to these two little buttons up here. The first one saying Add Global Set, the second one saying Delete All Remits. If you want to simply remove capability for a service provider or contractor to receive help desk issues or works instructions from you, then deleting all remits will do that very quickly. So I'm going to do that now, because then I want to show you how the Add Global Set works. So we'll click the Delete All Remits. You just get a little warning confirming what's about to happen, and if we say yes, then all of those remits have now gone. So if we go to the three tabs, we can see no remits for John Masters Plumbing Services in relation to their relationship with King's College. If I now click Add Global Set, again it will confirm what's about to happen. Remits non-site specific will be added for all regions, all work types, and a default cost range of £0 to £5,000. And of course you should check all remits tab lists and adjust these when necessary. So if we click on yes, then we get a default catch-all geographical remit that covers all areas. We get work remits set up for all works activity and all help desk activity, and we get cost remits of £0 to £5,000 with cost plus flexi contract and self sign-off all set to no. So I can then go back into any one of these and either remove them and add something more specific, or edit the contents of these so that it accurately reflects the working relationship between that particular service provider and the client. It's worth pointing out at this stage also that if the remits are incomplete, that service provider will simply not be available to you to send works instructions to. So if you have service providers or contractors in the system and they're clearly there as a contact and you can see them, but you are unable to send works instructions to them, the first place to check is that their remits are complete and up to date. If at any point you want to check what your list of service providers and contractors looks like, there's a simple way of doing that. So back on the front screen, if I click my Home button and go to my Manager Home, I've got a tab here on my Manager Home that says Providers, and this will list all service providers in the system that have current working remits with you, and it's a quick and easy way of checking that list, sorting it by company name if you want to so that you can group them together, and then jumping directly to a specific record if you need to do that in order perhaps to check on the remits for that particular service provider or contractor. Let's now look at sending a help desk issue as a works order to a contractor. I'm going to go to my help desk list, click the Go To button to go to the most recent issue, logged on the system. The lights have failed in corridor 1 of the ground floor of Tucker's house, and I want to send this on to an outside contractor. The process is, of course, exactly the same if you want to send this as a formalized works instruction to a member of your internal teams, or indeed to a team generally. So I'm going to click the Send button at the top. The first thing that happens is that I have the opportunity just to confirm that the location has been correctly logged. Assuming it has, all we have to do is click Confirm. Now we have to specify whether we are sending an order, an inquiry, or a tender inquiry. In this case, we're simply going to send an order. In other words, I need this work doing now and I want you to do it as soon as possible. and I'll click the OK. And now we can specify when we want the works done. And if it's urgent, I can simply click this button here, which puts in the current date and time plus 10 minutes. That's in essence is saying do it as soon as you can. And now I can choose who I want to send this order to, and if I know I want this to go off-site to an external contractor, I'll click external, and then from the drop down I can select the contractor that I want to send this order to. Click the confirm button, the final opportunity to confirm the order here, and if necessary put in a purchase order number at this point, and then I'm going to click the target button here, send new order to Best Electrical, yes. And if I return to the start screen now and I go to my works list, I'll find at the top of the list a brand new order that has just been created to Best Electrical. And if I click the go to button on that specific order, I can see that one line item for dealing with the fact that the lights have failed. And of course I can drill through to the line item itself in order to pick up additional detail if there is any. While we're looking at this particular order, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that the Docs tab is lit up in bold to indicate that some documents have been automatically attached to this order. You saw when I created the order that I didn't do this. This has happened automatically because these documents either relate directly to the location or are flagged as key documents in Flow360 in some context, and therefore have been distributed automatically with the works instruction. You retain a permanent record of all documents that were attached to all orders so that you can go back in time and review the audit trail and the history should you need to. Now let's just follow that order through the process of being received by the service provider and works being confirmed as completed. So I'm logged into Flow360 now as Best Electrical, and I can see my one message. If I go to the message, I can see it's that new works order, and the message itself links me directly to the order. On the order record, I can see the fact that there are documents attached, and I can show the list of documents, and I can open those documents, or in the case of images, I can simply pop up a dialog to have a quick look at them. When the work is completed, this is just a simple task, so when the work is completed we're simply going to hit the confirm button and confirm full completion. I can adjust the start and completion dates, so we can say actually we began work at 11 AM and we've now finished, and I can add additional notes if I need to, and then click the confirm button. Now, because I do not have self-sign-off, remember we looked at self-sign-off earlier, at this point I need to say yes, because I need somebody to inspect, confirm that work has been done to the correct standard, and perform the second stage sign-off. So this order simply goes to completed, and a message has now gone back to the issuing manager, and the manager's name up here is Tim Jones. So the issuing manager has received a message now to say that Best Electrical confirms they've completed work. Can you confirm and sign off? So let's log out now as Best Electrical and come back into the system as Tim. Pick up that message and confirm the works as finally complete. So the most recent message is that one, works item inspection request, and this will link me directly to the works order item, and then I can go up to the order record itself, hit the confirm button and say yes, I'm quite happy with all of that. And again, I can add some additional notes at this point if I need to. A message now has gone back to the contractor to confirm that I've inspected, signed off, and that I'm happy with the work. It's worth reminding you at this stage that although of course messages flow internally in Flow360, everything can be mirrored to email as well, and that will include documents that are automatically attached to works instructions, which are also attached to emails as electronic attachments. Let's have a look at sending a works instruction from a list of planned actions. I'm going to go to my sites and the King's College site and look at the Tasks tab. And of course I could filter this list in order to find a specific task, or I could go to a particular location in order to find the tasks that related to that location. But I can see from my list here that there's a heater service that I had meant to get done. It's already got a yellow flag against it. I need to get on with that, so I'm going to click that task record. And at the top of the task record I have a send button, exactly the same as I do on a help desk issue. And the process now is exactly the same. So I'm confirming that I want to send an order. I'm confirming when I want work to start. Now I don't need this right now, but in a couple of days' time would be great. And again, I want to send this externally to Best Electrical. Final confirmation, add the purchase order number if necessary, and send the order. And again, if I go back to my works list, the new order for Best Electrical is now showing at the top. And of course that information now has already gone to Best Electrical, both internally in Flow 360 and externally by email, along with any documents that should have been attached to that particular instruction. So we've seen how the order creation process works from help desk issues and from a single planned task. I want just now to show you quickly that we can include multiple tasks on a single works instruction or inquiry. And I'm going back to my tasks list, and again I could pre-filter this list or find a specific set of tasks. But I can see here that we have a number of tasks listed to fit smoke detectors. And I want to send that set of tasks out on a works order. Now what I'm going to do, having highlighted the set of tasks that I want, is I'm going to use Alt and then click on this button in order to isolate the list down to just that set of tasks. And now I can click the Send button here from the list itself. I've got all of my tasks there. I'm going to click the Add button for each of them in turn to drop them down to the selection at the bottom and confirm at the top. And now we're back into the same process that we are becoming familiar with. This is going to be an order. I want work to start actually in a week's time, so we'll say in a week. And this time I'm going to send this off-site to Prime Maintenance. Again, hit the Confirm button. Again, add a purchase order number if necessary, and click the Target or the Confirm button to finally send that order. Let's go to my works list again, look at the order that's now gone to Prime Maintenance, and we can see the smoke detectors for the admin block, and if I use the little pop-up I can see where each one of those is going. So in this case we've got one going into room 1, we've got one going into the office, and so on. So having issued an order to Prime Maintenance, we're now logged in as Prime Maintenance and we're going to review that order, and then I want to look at the process of updating progress. So as Prime Maintenance, I can see from my front screen I've received a message, and if I click the Go To button on the message I can see the detail of the message, including each itemized item on the list of items on the works order, which was to fit smoke detectors in a number of locations. The Linked Objects tab down here will allow me to jump directly to the order itself so that I can look at further detail. And on the Items tab I can see the 6 line items, and again I can use the pop-up to determine exactly which each of those items is, and if I want to I can then click the Go To button on the items list in order to review the detailed information for that individual item. I can see as well that the Docs tab is highlighted, and I can retrieve the documents that relate to that particular item. Back on the order record itself, with all of the line items listed, I now want to update the start date on a couple only of these line items. And the fastest way to do that is to omit the line items that I don't want to update, and then I can use the Confirm button to set the start date for the others. So I know that it is the first two here, that is the item for room 1 and the item for the office, that I want to update. So I'm just going to use the little Omit button here just to drop the other items off the list temporarily, and now I'm going to click the Confirm button at the top, and I have the option to set full completion or update the start date or progress. What I want to do is update. So I'm going to set update just for the current set of records. So it's just for those 2 records, and I want to specify the start date. And actually I need to say that we started on Saturday, and if I click the OK button, that now changes the status of those 2 items. So they are now showing as in progress with a start date of Saturday. And if I reload all of the items for this order, I can see just those 2 have been updated, the other 4 are still waiting. Now remember, whenever this information is confirmed, it is immediately available to anyone who has access to this particular works order. So management on site can see instantly what is going on, and of course management of the contractor's end at the main office, they can see exactly what's going on as well. Let's now update the progress and completion on the remaining 4 items. So first of all, I'm going to omit the 2 that I've already set a start date for, so that I just have the remaining 4 listed. I'm going to click the confirm button. Again, we're going to choose update as the option, and first of all we'll set the start date for the 4 items that are listed, and we want to set the start date for these to yesterday. So those are now showing all as in progress with the start date of yesterday. If I reload the list, we can see 2 items started on the 12th, 4 items started on the 13th. What I'd like to do now is indicate completion on all of those items. And again, I'll use the confirm button to do that with all items listed. And in this case, now I want to say set full completion. So we have a start date of the 12th, we have a completion date set by default to the current date and time. I can add additional notes here. If I need to, I could put in additional information, and I'll just hit the confirm button at this point. I now get the option to request surveyor inspection and final second stage sign-off, which I want to do, so I'm going to click yes on that. And just looking at what's happened here on the status on the side for each of these line items, you can see they've all gone to dark green and completed with an F next to it for finished. And completion is set at 100%, and the tick in this column indicates that I have requested inspection and second stage sign-off on all of those items. And that request will have gone to the issuing manager or the relevant surveyor in order that that inspection can take place. It's worth reminding you at this point that, of course, if this particular service provider or contractor had self-sign-off capability, then that second stage sign-off would have happened automatically at the same time as they indicated that works was complete. Logging back in now as the relevant manager, I can see on my list of messages that the most recent message is a request for inspection and sign-off from Prime Maintenance. If I click the little go to button on the message, that will link me then through to the works order, and I can see exactly what the service provider was looking at. I can perform my inspection and confirm complete sign-off. So in order to do that, logged in as the manager, again I'm just going to hit the confirm button, set full completion, the only option now, and I'll say yes, and I'm happy that all of that has been completed, so I'm just going to click the confirm button. So the status on all of these, both on the main order itself and on each individual line item, has now gone to blue and signed off, and we can see that confirmed completion percentage is 100%, and confirmed by the surveyor during the inspection and sign-off, the signed-off percentage is also showing as 100%. These works are now complete. So returning to our start screen and returning to our list of works orders, we can see that order number 575, which has now been completed and signed off, is no longer listed as an active order. That really is about all we have time for today. Future sessions and other tutorials on our YouTube channel will look at reporting and filtering and getting more detail and feedback, and a look at the audit trail of the history of works orders as they relate to individual service providers and globally across one or multiple sites. Don't forget the built-in user guide, which you can access always by clicking the little question mark. So we're looking here at the works list and I have my question mark down at the bottom, and that will open the user guide, and I can search for specific items in the guide to do with works orders, issuing works orders and instructions. If we scroll this down, you can see under reactive plan tasks, tenders, inquiries and works, and there's the whole set of lessons and walkthroughs dealing with works orders. So do refer please to the user guide, that will give you further information. Find us on YouTube by searching for Flow360 UK, or click the button on our website landing page with the little YouTube icon. Thank you for your time today, and goodbye.